Hey, how you doing? My name's Adam. I'm going to talk to you today about something that's been on my mind for a while, and it's going to be a simple video. I'll get back to making fancy, highly edited videos when I'm done making my short film. I've been working on this short film for 2 years. It's kind of consumed my life. Not that good, but it is what it is, you know, it's kind of my life now. But anyway, I want to talk to you today about TV shows, modern streaming TV shows, and how they're basically just long-ass, boring, fucking 9-hour movies now. And how TV's kind of gone the way of the dodo, you know? It doesn't really exist anymore. I guess network TV's still around. Nobody watches that. Anyway, I turned on this new Star Trek show, Starfleet Academy. Because, you know, I like old Star Trek, not so much the new Star Trek, but I figure you got to give things a shot sometimes, you know. I say I'll give myself 5-10 minutes, see if this is any good. But about 2 minutes in, I noticed that this thing is a goddamn hour and 15 minutes long. And, you know, it's the premiere episode of a TV show, but I just know that they're all going to be an hour and 15 minutes long. And for why? For what? What happens in them? Nothing happens in them, you know. You go back to HBO. HBO started all this kind of film, TV shows as film with the Sopranos and Game of Thrones and 6 Feet Under. And these are all pretty good shows, you know, they're all well written. But now you got Netflix and Paramount, Apple TV Plus to an extent, all these streaming services. And they don't know how to make movies as TV shows.
Hey, listen to this. Everyone on
Hollywood Street.
always talking about love. Yuck. But now it's time for me to tell you what
Netflix.
loves. The thing that
Streamers.
love best of all. Oh, I love trash. Anything dirty or dingy or dusty. Anything ragged or rotten or rusty. Yes, I love trash.
That shit slaps. That shit.
It's like, it all sucks. I watched the new season of the Fallout show. I like Fallout. I like playing a video game back in the day. And, you know, it's just Ghoul and Lucy. They're walking to New Vegas. Oh, now we got to cut to something else because we have no story going on. Let's cut back to the vault. See what the vault politics are like. Because, you know, that's my favorite part of, like, any Fallout game is when you leave the fucking vault and you go on all these adventures and then you just keep cutting back every 10 minutes to what's going on in the vault since you left because that's important. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Just thought I'd throw that out there. And then you have the Stranger Things. Everybody's complaining about the Stranger Things and how half the episodes are just expository dialogue. There's no real story going on. It's a general trend, you know. TV shows want to be films. They're not films. Films are, I guess they're getting longer, but they don't go on for 9 hours. Now, what you could do with this format, with this 9 hours of a film format, it's not a TV show, because TV shows, even if you have a continuous story, each episode used to be its own self-contained story that moved the greater narrative forward a little bit. We don't really have that anymore. What we have now is a pile of bullshit. Anyway, if you did want to make a 9-hour movie, though, there are certain things you can do. The aforementioned Game of Thrones is good because each season of that show is based on a book written by an author who writes books. And when you read a book, I don't know if you guys read, but really it's like watching a 9 or 10 or however long it takes you to finish the book, movie in your head. So this is perfectly suited to this new format of television, except very rarely are they adapting books. They do sometimes. Netflix adapted Three Body Problem and Apple's adapted Foundation. Watched a little bit of that. It was just way too different than the books for me, but whatever, it's probably good. But when you adapt a book, somebody sat down, you know, an author, they sat down and they wrote a book and they thought about the story and how it was going to go and the characters and the plot. and the pacing of a book, and they made that interesting. Whereas now with TV shows, I don't know who's writing all this fucking trash, but they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And even if they get lucky and make something good for the first season, because, you know, they had the first season down, they had an idea to do something. Stranger Things, I suppose. But even if you get that right, then subsequent seasons, you don't know. They didn't plan any of this out. That's always been the problem with TV shows, to an extent. This is really, I never really liked watching serialized TV shows. I used to watch, right now I'm watching The Outer Limits from like the 1960s, black and white TV show. Not as good as The Twilight Zone, by the way, but whatever. Some of it's okay, but each episode you go in, it's its own story. So you get a bad episode or two, but then you just move on to the next one because it's its own story written by different writers, and that's what TV used to be, man. Used to be you turn on a TV show and you get a little bit of a different story, even like a 22-minute comedy, like The Simpsons is still on TV, but I don't know, Roseanne or something. You know, you had to write a little self-contained story. Not needlessly complicated, but entertaining enough. You watch the show, you go on with your life. And now streamers are starting to do this other bullshit. They're starting to say, well, let's not all release it all at once, even though it's all completed all at the same time. You know, production is done before they start airing all these episodes. Because again, they're filmed like 9-hour movies. It's not like they're shooting for half a year, whatever, and shooting the last few episodes at the tail end. No, it's all completed. That's why they were releasing it all at once and people were binging it. Now they got the bright fucking idea to not do that. Now we're going to be like traditional TV and release one episode a week. It's like, okay, but nothing fucking happens in each episode of your show. So who's waiting a week to see what happened? Like, I have to talk my wife into watching this Fallout show because absolutely fucking nothing happens. There's like 5 or 6 plots going on, and none of them are interesting, and none of them are going anywhere. Maybe by the final episode, maybe by the time you watch this YouTube video, it'll end up being the second greatest season of a TV show of all time. But so far, it's just like, I don't know what's going on, but nothing's really happening. You're cutting around. There's this Brotherhood of Steel political thing going on. I don't care. Like, you know what would have made a great Fallout TV show is you have the main character, you have Lucy or some other character, and they come out of the vault, and they just go on a fun little adventure every week. Like a fun little new adventure. Like, that's what they were doing with The Mandalorian for the first season, but you just have one character and you go around the wasteland. Or you could have made it an anthology show. Then you could really do anything you want. You could write a new story every week. I don't know why people don't like anthology TV shows. I fucking love them, you know? You can do anything. You can go anywhere. Each episode's like a brand new exciting thing. And what's going to happen? I don't know. New characters, new location. I understand that that's more expensive, but let's be honest, like, Stranger Things cost $500 million, season 5 of Stranger Things. Like, do streamers really care about being too expensive? No, they just want everything to look and feel like a movie. And you see that now. Like, again, the Fallout show, I keep talking about that, but it looks great. It's shot on anamorphic lenses. It looks like a movie. There's just nothing going on. So I don't want to give the impression that I hate this Fallout show. You know, it's fine, verging on good, but I just think it could be better. And when you talk about critiquing media and shows and television, I think we're at this point where everything's either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. Nobody really ever wants to watch a video where somebody just talks about something and says it's okay, which in actuality is what most things turn out to be. But I watched season 2, episode 5 last night, and it's the second highest rated episode of the whole TV series. Now, I think there's a reason for that. It's because, 1, something actually happens in it, and 2, we stop cutting back to the Brotherhood of Steel. We don't cut back to the vault, so you have these 6 plot points that they're juggling. We're only dealing with 3 or 4 of them in this episode. gives the episode a chance to breathe, the characters to breathe, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. I don't understand why every TV show really has to aim for being super epic, super prestige. Even something relatively successful like Game of Thrones, planned out, written on books, people really hated the ending of that show. But that's kind of the problem when you're dealing with trying to make like a space opera or a fantasy opera or a wasteland opera, I guess maybe is what this Fallout show is going for. But you have to create all these interesting dynamics and characters and plot points, and then at some point you actually have to wrap all that up in a satisfying way. And that's what making a really good television show, that's why it's so difficult. You know, your Breaking Bads or your Sopranos or whatever, it's why they're so rare, because you're expanding this idea of storytelling and you're trying to stretch it out into 5, 6, 7 seasons, whatever it is, a continuous story, all these characters. Is a very difficult thing to do, you know. Very few people, I think, maybe on the whole entire planet, are able to do it efficiently. You know, I read those Pierce Brown Red Rising books. They're pretty good. Each book kind of does this thing, though, where you reset the stakes. So how do you do that with a television series? You know, True Detective, they do it by just changing the story every season, which is fine. I like that. I'm cool with that. But you talk about something like Fallout specifically, and the problem with Fallout is it's a world more than it is a story, right? Like, there's kind of no stakes to the world because it's post-apocalyptic. You have all these different factions vying for power. You know, each game I played, it's like you're chasing your dad or your son or spoilers, but whoever around, because they have this thing where they want to try and rebuild order, bring order to the world. That's kind of what's going on in this Fallout show. You know, Kyle MacLachlan, I assume he's trying to perfect mind control so he can bring order to the world. And, you know, it's just not like an epic story that needs to be told. That's the problem with a lot of television. Like, do you need 5, 6, 7 seasons to tell your story? Could you tell it in one? Could you tell it in a film? Yeah, I like to watch TV. I just generally films and TV. I noticed this trend though, where the story is starting to not matter at all to anyone involved in the movie making process. It's like, why doesn't story matter to anyone? Isn't it like the whole reason we make films? I understand film's a visual medium a lot more than a book or a novel is, but still, like, shouldn't it be grounded in some kind of story? Like, you can't just rely on situations that don't mean anything. It just doesn't work as like anything. Like, why would anybody watch any of this, you know? And you go back and you watch some of those old Star Trek. You watch Star Trek TNG or even Voyager, and again, you have all these characters. Everybody loves characters. That's why people watch TV shows, I think. But they experience stories, and some of those stories are goofy, and some are mediocre, and some are great. But you're not just tied to one overarching narrative about a MacGuffin or a girl's dad trying to do whatever, or some guy, you know? Like, there's an actual point to the story. I just ask myself, like, why? Like, what exactly is the point? Because for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, however long it's been, you had films and you had TV shows. And I could see the point to either one, you know? Like, TV shows were the short form version of a film, like a little snack bite thing to tide you over. A movie is a higher production budget, and those lines have all blurred and they've gone away. Except for the fact that I don't really want to watch a 9-hour movie. Like, 2.5, 3 hours is plenty long to tell a story. And I just wish TV shows would be a little more like they used to be, you know, a little more experimental. It's where you could go as a visual artist or a filmmaker or writer or whatever, and you just go and you kind of experiment with things without having to have this precious little project that goes on forever.
I can hear you now. But Adam, that's what YouTube is for. Sure, it's exactly the same as television, except for having no financial backing, no contract, no guarantee, and being forced to fellate the monstrous kielbasa of an algorithm designed by a tech company that honestly doesn't even know or care which channels are successful, with no barrier to entry and millions of dreamers vying for a diminishing pool of attention in some kind of long walk / battle royale / Lord of the Flies / Snowpiercer / Elysium / Hunger Games / Maze Runner / Divergent / The Matrix / The Truman Show / The Running Man free-for-all. Sure, it's exactly the same.
And I fear the thing that's going to happen, or that's happening with the streamers, streaming television going this route, is that's all we're ever going to get anymore, is these attempts to be an epic genre-defying television show when it could just be fun and experimental like TV used to be. And I think the shitty thing about all this is that it's just going to continue to be prevalent, you know? Netflix bought Warner Brothers up. Are they going to buy whatever? I mean, at some point they're gonna buy NBC or CBS or ABC, like this, one of these big streamers, or Disney or someone like that's. Does Disney already own fucking ABC? I don't know, whatever. Someone's gonna come in, they're gonna buy all the network TV. Those are all gonna wind down, and then we're gonna be left with no TV shows. It's just gonna be one long 9-hour movie after the next.
Oh my God.
That's the future of television. That's kind of depressing because I'm making a short film. I like short films just because I like short form stories. I think you can actually tell a pretty good story in 22 minutes, 44 minutes, whatever. I don't think you actually need 9 hours to tell a story. At that point, you're just really invested in characters and things like that. But if you just want to write a story, you know, a little entertaining story, an in-depth story even, I think you can do it in feature-length film. So I really don't know what the point of all these long-ass, boring streaming television shows are and why people watch them, because I personally can't do it. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it anymore. Unless a TV show is based on a book I like or something, I don't think I'm gonna sit down and watch 9-hour TV shows anymore. Sometimes they're still okay. What's that one guy? Mike Flanagan in Dark Mirror's okay. That's like the new version of the Twilight Zone. I wish it wasn't so dystopian. I like that San Junipero episode. Is it Black Mirror? I think it's Black Mirror. Anyway, I like the San Junipero episode of Black Mirror because one of the few optimistic ones, and that's another thing with these goddamn shows. I guess that's why people like Stranger Things so much, because it's like safe and optimistic, you know, and I'm not gonna bash that show. But then the finale, what was that, like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something? 2.5 hours? That's a feature-length film, man. And nothing really happens. Like, they fight the Vecna, 10, 15 minutes. Then you got like 90 minutes of epilogue. I've never gone to the theater and watched 90 minutes of epilogue. It's usually like 10, 15 minutes, if there is even an epilogue. Sometimes, a lot of times in a tight film, you know, you get to the conclusion. That's kind of just it, you know? Maybe at the end of Die Hard, like Carl from Family Matters, he gets to shoot the guy and they smell at each other. It takes like a minute to wrap that film up. The point of the film was the ride along the way, not the epilogue or ending. But now we got streaming shows where you can dedicate a whole episode just to not only an ending, the after the ending. And that's kind of ridiculous when you think about it. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about how much time all these things are sucking up, how much of people's attention spans are being spent on realistically nothing. Like, that's not interesting. It's a giant waste of time. I guess if you're super invested in the characters, then it feels good, but you know, it's not good storytelling any way you slice it. A good story is tight, you know? That's why I like films and anthology TV shows, and I never much liked watching soap operas and shit that just goes on forever without a point. You know, like Grey's Anatomy has been on TV for like 30 I think it's been on TV for like 79 seasons or something, and it just keeps on going on. I guess it's just different reasons why people watch TV and films and entertainment. I guess some people just watch it because they want to turn their brain off, and I do that too. You do that. People watch YouTube. That's basically how YouTube is, but you need to spend $500 million on something that's not very good that people are just watching to turn their brains off or watching in the background while you scroll TikTok or whatever. I don't really see the point. Back in the day, you had all these independent freelance writers. They would submit scripts or they'd be commissioned to write a script, and now you just have writers hired to work on a TV show. You have a showrunner. I don't know how much steam your average showrunner's got in them, but 5, 6, 7 seasons, that's a lot of steam to be pumping out of your engine.
The Writers Guild of America strike has entered its 3rd week. They are seeking better pay and other improved conditions from the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers.
You know, Todd Howard breathing down your throats, or Stranger Things probably got Netflix executives breathing down your throats. It's like, how do you be creative in this modern day environment of streamers who, let's face it, a lot of these streaming companies, I know Paramount's been around but Netflix, like, they don't have, and you say what you want about the studio system, but it's just, Netflix never had that, 100 years of just people running around making films, learning about the film business. They kind of just started as a DVD distributor, and it was technology based, right? That's kind of like what's going on with society. What's wrong with everything is you got Google and you got Meta and you got all these people, and they're kind of fucking around with society, but they don't really understand society. They just understand technology. Like, YouTube doesn't really understand entertainment. Even to this day, like the CEO of YouTube, Neil whatever, I don't think he understands entertainment. He just understands we built an algorithm. The algorithm's great. Like, why wouldn't people just want to watch whatever the algorithm recommends them? Or like Spotify, it's all fucking shitty garbage, man. Like, that's not traditionally how societies worked. And you could say it was worse when we had humans as gatekeepers, and anybody can distribute anything now and that kind of shit. But that's all true, except for the fact that the only way you're ever going to watch anything on fucking YouTube is if the algorithm recommends it to you. The only way you're going to watch anything on Netflix is what pops up in your Netflix recommended, you know? It's not like anybody's cultivating any of these choices. I guess in the case of Netflix, they're producing their own content, but talk about something like YouTube, man. It's like, I really wish YouTube would have some kind of a hand in things, or a culture, or spend money on shows, or hire people to make things, because like, I am really getting fucking sick of YouTube too. Even this, you were still watching this video, it's like, I gotta ask you why, you know? Like, I am just so tired of 20-somethings getting on a camera and talking about things like they're experts about whatever, you know? It's just getting real tiresome, having opinions, the same opinions that everybody wants to hear, and just ragging on things. And none of these people, like, nobody's making anything. We could all be making anything. We're just complaining about everything.
You can tell when your baby is crying because he's hungry, or when he is crying for other reasons.
Complaining about TV shows and YouTube and algorithms and pop culture and music and the decay of society. It's like, none of this stuff's ever going to get better if everyone's just complaining about everything. Maybe we should all make things and then collectively somehow all get together and figure out how to actually take these algorithms, take all this technology and turn it around towards our advantage, instead of just being a fucking race to the bottom and YouTube propping up the most sensational, like, most banal, most horseshit opinions by whoever, just because they got a little bit of algorithm win and now they're going with it, you know? I hope I never fucking catch any algorithm win. I hope my YouTube channel never goes anywhere, because you know what? That'll keep me from just doing YouTube all the time, just making bullshit YouTube videos. Probably won't ever actually accomplish anything in my whole goddamn entire life. Maybe I'll get a short film done. Maybe I'll make a movie. I don't know. None of it's gonna happen talking to a camera on YouTube. Horrible and shitty, just like all the YouTube movie critics. They all go out and try to make a movie. It's all shit because they're spending 10 years cutting their teeth on the craft of filmmaking, 10 years building up a bullshit YouTube movie channel with Chris Stuckman's pushing content. You don't have any real fucking opinions, any controversy, and that's YouTube, and that's who wins on YouTube. You're Mr. Beast. That's all a big YouTuber. It's just such all mediocre fucking horseshit. Now we have streaming shows that are also mediocre horseshit, and I guess Netflix cancels a lot of shows. I guess that happens, but you know, to be fair to Netflix, who's gonna watch an original show these days either? Like everything is based on something because there's no way to market anything. Like how's Netflix gonna market a show? Nobody watches TV. Nobody sees ads for things. You know, you skip all the ads on YouTube. So how do you market original things? Who's watching original things? Nobody. Nobody gives a shit. I make an original thing. I upload it. Who's gonna watch that? Nobody. Who's gonna watch a long ass rambly bullshit about me complaining about Netflix and streaming shows? I don't know. Someone, because at least you got an idea of what it's gonna be about. You know. I hooped you in with the fucking title and thumbnails, didn't I? Now you're still here for some reason listening to a madman ramble on about nothing, but that's the state of the world we're in. That's the state of the world we're in. And I just get so tired of it, you know. Again, sitting here on a camera complaining about nothing. But we're all tired of it, aren't we? We're all tired of this, like, society that could be so much better, and I would even argue was better. I mean, you had less of a choice. You couldn't stream things at your fingertips, but creative people made creative things, and people used to watch them, or they used to make it on a TV, like somehow, because executives weren't completely running the show back in the day. Whereas now they're completely running the show, and not even the executives, but the bullshit algorithms, you know?
Honey, you gotta get used to programming a robot.
Yeah, TV shows, man. I don't want to watch any of that shit. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to watch The Outer Limits. I got a few seasons of that left. And then maybe I'll rewatch Twilight Zone, because Twilight Zone's pretty good. Definitely recommend you watch that. And, you know, there's probably some old 80s or 90s shows I'm missing out on that I still need to watch. But anything new, it's just like, why even bother, you know?
That is all.